Hi there. It's an age-old debate in the fitness world about whether it's possible to do what we call spot reduction. So if you do exercises for one specific body region, can you reduce the amount of body fat in that region? So we're normally talking about the midsection or the abdominal area. The general consensus is that that's not how that works, that weight loss or gain or fat loss or gain is a system-wide sort of thing that's based on your metabolic rate, how much you burn that way and via activity versus your intake and whether or not you're in a deficit. This study is one of many in a long line trying to figure out whether this is possible. What makes it unique is it's a randomized control trial, so they had a control group and an intervention group. The control group ran on a treadmill for 45 minutes at about 70% of their maximum output. The experimental group ran for about half of that, and in about the same amount of remaining time, they did intervals, I think it was 4 intervals of a few minutes each of weighted trunk twists and weighted crunches, similar to the photos here. They were matched in terms of how much energy they theoretically should have burned. So it's an amount of running that would equal that running plus abdominal exercise group. What they found was that the group that did the abdominal exercises did lose about 3% more of their fat mass from the midsection, from the trunk, while overall both groups lost about the same amount of body weight and overall fat mass. So sweet, right? The limits to this, number one, it was a relatively small group. So there were 16 total subjects. We'd like something like this to have closer to 50. Many other studies have failed to demonstrate an effect like this. So I can find just as many showing that no, it's not possible or there's no difference. Among the other ones that have shown that spot reduction is possible, it tends to be more strongly associated with novices or new kind of never exercised before kinds of folks, where the effects that this could possibly have diminish with your training age, how long you've been regularly exercising. So all in all, it's probably not a thing, but it is interesting when you see it because that's kind of it'd be nice if it was true and you could target the floppy underarm or the midsection. So these authors report that it is theoretically possible, but on a pretty small scale. Um, Whether or not to do those kinds of exercises, I think there's a lot of fear mongering about things like crunches and sit-ups, that they're bad for your back. And I think that's very much overblown. I personally prefer to work the core in ways that are more like what your core needs to do for athletic movement. So heavy carries and things like that. But I also think that if you want to mix in some crunches or sit-ups, unless you have an active flared up situation for back pain, it's probably fine. So as always, the truth is somewhere in the middle.